Okay, welcome to the March 15th, 2011 meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency. Can we have a roll call, please?
Agency members: Draymond.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Taro.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Sheriff Friedman.
Here, can we hear your report, please?
Agenda for the March 15, 2011 regular meeting of the Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, March 10, 2011 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What's next?
There are no approval of minutes. There are no minutes to approve for this meeting. Next is oral communications. No cards were submitted.
Okay, what's next, please?
On the business agenda at 6A, Director of Community Development regarding Stage 1 design review for a 306-unit residential project to be located at 320 through 324 North Central Avenue, 208 West Lexington Drive, and 317 through 345 North Orange Street. 6A1 is motion approving Stage 1 design review subject to comments and conditions from the agency.
Okay, thank you. Ron.
Good afternoon, Agency Chair Friedman, members of the agency. The proposed project consists of two separate sites. The first site is located on the east side of Central in the 300 block, roughly at the intersection of Myrtle Street. It is immediately north of the legendary Tower project, which was approved by the agency just about a year ago. The second site is located on the west side of Orange Street, just east of the alley of the first site, in the 300 block, and starts at the intersection of Orange and Lexington and extends south along Orange about 3/4 of the way of the block to the parking lot for the Sears Auto Center. The project as a whole consists of two separate 5-story buildings with a total of 309 units. The staff report indicates 306, but the actual number is 309. There's 106 units on Central Avenue and 203 on Orange Street. The maximum height for each building is 75 feet, and they would be connected by a second-level pedestrian bridge over the alley, and this would require an airspace vacation. The code requires 516 parking spaces, and the project as a whole provides that number with 172 spaces in the central building and 344 in the Orange site. While the project does provide the code-required parking, all visitor parking for the project will be in the Orange building. There will not be any visitor parking on Central. You'll have to park on Orange and cross the alley. While the project height of 75 feet is allowable within the DSP standards, the combined FAR of both buildings is 3.24, which exceeds the limit of 3.0 for the Orange Central District. The applicant is proposing to use the Public Open Space Initiative and is providing more than the DSP requirement for publicly accessible open space, which would make the project eligible for this incentive. The Stage 1 submittal has been reviewed by the city's urban designer, and he does support approval of the Stage 1 as submitted, with the condition that the function and placement of the public open space be refined through or be further refined through the Stage 2 design review process. The agency staff is recommending approval of the Stage 1 submission with the direction that the applicant further refine the design consistent with the comments from the urban designer. That concludes our brief report. I'd like to invite Simon Ha, the project architect, or Jim O'Neill, the project applicant, to take you through the Stage 1 design.
Thank you, Agency Chair Member Freeman and members of the agency. My name is James O'Neill. I'm the Executive Vice President of Crown Realty and Development. We are the applicant for this 309-unit project, and we're very excited to bring this forward for your consideration tonight. And this project is going to target young urban professionals, and it is our goal to build this project as soon as possible. With that, for the review of the project, I'd like to introduce Simon Ha, our lead architect. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Simon. I am from Thomas Cox Architects. We have had two previous projects in Glendale, one that's actually in the ground right now called ISIS. I'm excited to bring a project to the heart of downtown Glendale. It's a 309-unit hip urban luxury apartment project with resort-like amenities. Can you hit the PowerPoint, please?
While we're at a pause, Chair Friedman, may I ask a
there you go.
question? Simon, when you say hip, now is this a technical term, an architectural term?
It's a, I would say,
Acronym for
I would say it's a
intellectual
lifestyle
property?
term,
Okay.
not so much a design term.
It's the kind of place Councilman Weaver and I are going to be looking for.
Well, nobody's, yeah.
I thought
I
that
would
was
consider you
forced.
guys hip.
You always say.
This project is geared towards professionals working in downtown Glendale, empty nesters who want to be close to amenities like restaurants and culture and shopping, and those who just prefer living in urban settings, people that are moving from New York or Chicago that want to live in an urban environment. And this, in the vision of the downtown specific plan, is the last piece of the puzzle that promotes a lifestyle that allows live, work, and play all in one place without the use of automobiles. The project is located between Lexington and California and Central and Orange Street as part of the Orange Central District in the DSP. This area has an eclectic mix of buildings that are existing there, some historic buildings such as Glendale Federal Building, Glendale Center Theater, and Alex Theater, and some forward-thinking buildings which are of more contemporary nature, Verdugo Gardens, Legendary Tower, and the Alexander. Within five-minute walking distance, you have the Galleria, and you can reach most of the office buildings. So this is a very walkable community. The site is right adjacent to Porto's Bakery, Jack's, and a few other restaurants that are well known in downtown. In the DSP, the Orange Central District has two areas. Central Avenue is a vibrant mixed use with eclectic mix of destinations, service, and neighborhood serving retail. Upper levels are residences with balconies and patios overlooking the street life. Seems to have stuck. There you go. Orange Street is a premier residential address in downtown Glendale with inviting pedestrian sidewalks and new townhouse-style residences that front the street with stoops. So taking the DSP's vision, we have come up with a site plan that achieves just that. On Central, we have live-work units with storefronts lining the street front. On Lexington and Orange, we have ground floor stoop units and also the leasing center. So these are individual units with individual stoops going into the apartment unit straight from the sidewalk. The parking is tucked away behind the row of live-work and ground floor units, so that from the street you will never see the parking garage except for at the location where you enter into the garage. You enter into the garage for the Central building through the alley, the Orange building through Orange Street. And working with staff, we have identified 3 key locations that relate to urban design in terms of pedestrian connection and visibility. So in Central, we have highly visible part of the building at the end of Myrtle Street. On Orange, we have a portion of the building here that's at the lot line, which is highly visible from Bram Boulevard as you're walking towards Orange Street and the city parking lot, which is being used for Porto's. Also, to the north of the site, at the corner of Lexington and Orange, this corner becomes very visible from people or cars that are traveling west on Lexington Drive. And these 3 locations were chosen as important nodes for the project, and we have placed all the residential lobbies in those locations. And for across the city parking lot, we also located our leasing center here, right next to the garage entry. So from here, it's a quick walk to either your office or shopping or bars or all the amenities that Glendale has to offer. So really, you don't have to get in your car to live here. And if you do have to get in a car, there's 3 bus lines serving Central and Brandon. On the podium level, this diagram here shows the views from the site. You have the view to the Griffith Park. To the south, you have views to downtown LA, views of East Glendale, downtown skyline, Verdugo Mountains. So it's pretty much open except for a little portion on the north end where it's being blocked by an existing building. These 2 buildings are connected by a bridge at this location here. I want to make a clarification on what Mark Berry said a little earlier, where people who park in the guest parking here have to cross the alley to get into the other building. Actually, people who park here come up the elevator lobby located at the corner. They can walk across the pool area and get into the adjacent building. So the building is made so that you don't actually have to cross the alley, and since there's no entrance in the alleyway. We have 5 courtyards. We have a large pool court facing south to take advantage of the solar exposure. So moving on to the good part, which is what's there now and what does the building look like. So this is Central at Myrtle, and currently this is what the site looks like with the discount warehouse, I believe, and a dentist to the left. What we're proposing here is at the bottom here, that's the elevation for the building. To the right is a massing for Legendary Tower. And what we're proposing on the site is a 5-story building with a mezzanine on top. The ground floor level is lined with live-work units with storefronts, as DSP called for a commercial frontage. This building has the terminus of Myrtle, so that is our special element, where the big massing here gets divided up with a curtain wall, which is the elevator lobby. That'll be lit at night. So when you're driving down Myrtle, when you reach the end of it, you'll know where you are because it'll always be lit. At the top floor, we have a roof deck. We wanted to carve away at the building but retain its geometry. So by creating these big urban windows and putting residential amenities up here, that's a roof deck or a roof lounge, it gives us an opportunity to break away from the box and provide some great amenities for the residents. On Orange Street, we're looking north on Orange Street, standing in the Porto's parking lot right now. So there's some existing commercial low-rise building and open parking lots. And this is what we're proposing on the orange side. It's a fairly long block, and to break up the massing, we're proposing 2 different architecture. To the left, we have a pretty rigid grid of windows, but we're playing with the deck placement and scattering them around so that it contrasts the rigidness and gives it a little playfulness. Here you see the corner tower with the leasing office at the bottom and the resident lobby entry, also a stairway serving the pool court. Right adjacent to that, you see the garage entry, and as you go down or go north on Orange Street, these are all ground level stoop units. And my last slide here, from Orange Street and Lexington Drive, from the corner, this is what you would see now, walking west on Brand, or on Lexington from Brand. And the building that we're proposing. This corner here, we're treating it a little different than the tower. We wanted to create a floating box at this corner to create some dramatic effects where the top mast is sitting on top of a glass box, which is a resident lobby. That's going to be lit at night all the time, similar to Central. And up above, we have another roof deck that takes advantage of the great skyline view of downtown and also the backdrop of the mountains to the north. And with that, I'm going to turn this presentation over to Michael Schrock, who is our landscape architect.
In the essence of time, and I can tell this is running short, I'm going to be really quick because really landscape is required on step 2. But in projects like this, the sociology of it is incredibly important, and that's my job, is to bring the fun, the excitement, the hip to the project. We are going to design each and every one of these courtyards differently, providing different sociological spaces. What we want people is, instead of staying in their room, is to come down and socialize, to drink wine with them, play bartender, act on a Wi-Fi, and so you can get a kind of a vibe. We're really trying to set all different standards where you can study softly and quietly, you can have a larger party, smaller party, but it's all going to be done with a sustainability context. We're taking all the water off the roofs and putting them in the planters. All the planting areas on the podium decks, over 50% of them is raised planters. We've done many podium projects where we actually drain the water down off the roof, silt it through the thing, and then when it discharges, it's completely cleaned. We're using all local materials. We're using green walls. We're doing drought-tolerant planting throughout. Every garden will actually have a different planting scheme. So you'll be in the desert, you'll be in the so all of which will be saving water, but also providing a really different environment for the users. What we want is this guy over here to go all the way over to that corridor. And Simon has done an amazing job of creating this multi-level project where the pool courtyard's here, this other courtyard's here, there's a sky deck over here, and we'll get into all those details the next time, but I figure I'd just give you a little quick taste. For the public, we talked about the public open spaces, and what we're doing is on 3 different lobbies of the 3 different buildings. We are spanning out, embracing the public right-of-way, doing the Glendale enhanced paving, spilling out different scenes, each one. And what's most important is where it's basically a lifeless street scene, we're really going to add street lights and furniture and landscape and tree-lined streets. And so it'll encourage this connection from Central all the way to downtown, which we really want to embrace and be a part of. The pool deck is right out of Vegas. Cabanas, Wi-Fi, flat screen televisions. One side is kind of a party area with outdoor pool table. One side's more of a quiet lounge area. This is one of the courtyards, and each one will be different, but this is one's kind of fire and ice concept, where it's a little mini fountain with fire going on, but then you go through portals, so it really, instead of this one space, it divides it up into 3. This one is one of the sky lounges. We're calling this Halo, where essentially it's a big fire pit, but basically the lights kind of come down right out of the spaceship almost, I would say. But that was just a real teaser. If you have any questions, I'm here, as well as Simon. But more importantly, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before I go to questions from my colleagues, I have a quick question for staff. Or it's actually more of just confirming something before we start the conversation. I read in the staff report, and I just want to confirm it and point it out, that for this Stage 1 design review, that the environmental impact report hasn't been done yet. So this is not a conversation about traffic. It's not a conversation about any of those impacts. This is strictly a conversation today about the design. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so at some point down the as they progress down the road, then we'll have a chance to review all of those impacts, and the public can weigh in on those issues.
Yes. After this, assuming the Stage 1 approval, the environmental consultant will go prepare the appropriate CEQA documents, and it'll be brought back to you as a package with the Stage 2.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to clarify sort of the ground rules for the conversation today. And with that said, I'm going to turn to my colleagues to see if there are any questions for any of the project representatives or for staff. Mr. Quintero.
I don't have any questions at this point, but I do have comments. I'm very, very happy that we're bringing this to that particular section of the downtown, which, as we all know, is totally, completely nondescript. I mean, it's just, and it's been like that for years and years. So this is going to be a tremendous addition. I think a tremendous addition architecturally, as well as the life that it's going to bring to that section of Central and really to Mid-Brand, because the people that are living in these units, I'm sure, will be all over the different restaurants, bakeries, cafes, etc. So it's very much a plus, and it'll fall under our green code that the state of California has adopted, and we have here in Glendale. As a matter of fact, we'll be further refining it later in the afternoon. So, it's what we're looking for. We're looking for downtown housing for different demographics, and I think this is the right project, and very pleased to voting in the affirmative on this project. And as I mentioned later on, Mr. Weaver and I will probably be utilizing some of the amenities there. There's a gym, which is great. It's across the street from Porto's, so they need a good size. They're going to need a good sized gym to keep all those hip people looking good. So, anyway, I'm very impressed with the project, and hopefully it'll be built quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver.
Comments. I understand this is phase one, or stage one, so can't comment about. I like the way the spaces are broken up, whatever. And I think this is a project where the pictures really can't portray what it's going to look like when it's built. Flat object, but the amount of detail and effort going into it will only show when it's in place. People keep forgetting it's also across from Damon's restaurant that's been in the redevelopment zone since the 30s. In fact, the governor of Hawaii has stated that the best Mai Tais in the world are in Glendale, California at Damon's, not in Hawaii. For the governor to say that must be pretty good. And then you have the oldest operating theater in the United States of America, the Glendale Center Theater across the street. So there's going to be a lot of reasons to live there and go across the street. One thing we're going to have to be careful of, our future council will have to be careful about, is the property directly to the south. If the Sears property is developed with a high-rise, there will be total shade where the swimming pool is going in. So there have to be, I don't know, Sears wishes to do it, what any council is going to be able to do to prevent that from occurring. That's for another day. I have no problems with it at this stage. I just said I like the design. And Mr. O'Neill, if I recall right, you told me you came from Glendale, California? Mr. O'Neill is a Glendale native. He's bringing a project back to Glendale. And if you have been out on the campaign trail like Mr. Draymond and I have, we keep hearing nothing's happening in Glendale. Nothing happening in Glendale. I have to reiterate about this, the Broadway Loves, the Matah project, on and on and on. In this economy, in a recessionary period, this is happening in Glendale. You don't think it doesn't mean that we have a great city and people desire to come here? You're fooling yourself. It is great, and this is going to really... Oh, and the other comment made about the downtown strategic plan. Mr. O'Neill and his architect said that they followed the downtown Pacific plan to the letter. Staff has been fabulous in working with them through it. And then I'm out on the campaign trail hearing I voted against the downtown specific plan. It should never have happened. Well, I'm here to say it is good. It did work. It only took 10 years to get that plan. Here's evidence making it much easier for the developer to come in and develop in the city because we gave them the guidelines on which they are to operate. Hold true not only for this project, but for the ones to come. Only last comment, I hope by stage 2 you have a name other than Orange Central. Just doesn't seem to fit. So, other than that, it's great. Let's go to stage 2.
Else? Mr. Draymond.
Just for the record, I'm not hearing that on the campaign trail about there's nothing going on in Glendale. I'm hearing the other one. I must...
Retail.
Oh, retail.
Downtown.
Yeah. I keep reminding people about all the work that's going on in our downtown, and this will be a wonderful addition to that. One of the things I like about this are the walk-ups. And although I saw them mentioned, unless I missed it when I had to step out for a moment, I don't know if there was a photograph or an image of a close-up of what we're doing with those walk-ups. But I think those are a stroke of genius. I think that is absolutely great. If we're talking about activating the street, it's a great design, and the concept is wonderful, but it still wouldn't get me there if we weren't activating the street in addition. That's a big part of this as well. And so to me, those walk-ups, the stoops, are just a stroke of genius. I think that is incredible. So I like that very much. And I think your residents are going to like that. As Councilmember Quintero said, this area is, he's a little more generous or less blunt than I would be when he says it's a nondescript. I'd use the word sad. To me, it is currently, its current state is sad. It looks like it was left behind, like a lot of thought wasn't given to it. I like not only what this is going to do for the area, but I like the benchmark it's going to set for other development in this particular area. And other projects along Central and Orange in that area have to reach a pretty high threshold now as this goes forward, not only for the design but also for the sustainable aspects as well. And it's really nice to see that as much thought was put into the sustainable aspects as the sustainability as into the design. So I'm very pleased with that. The activation, not only with the walk-ups, but also the activation out on the corner with the sort of sidewalk furniture and so on, also wonderful. The detailing, the street lights, bringing in sidewalk plantings, trees, etc. Very, very happy. Obviously, I'm going to be interested as when this project comes back to the next stage. We start talking about traffic and parking issues and environmental and all of that. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at that very carefully. But for these purposes today, very happy. I'm also happy about the smooth work between the design team and our city staff. Very, very pleased. Thank you.
Let me let Mr. Najarian speak first. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Well, unless you want to yield to Mr.
No, he does that too often. I'm going to say my remarks, and then he can wait till we all come through. I want everyone to know that the last project that came through the agency, I had many reservations about. Those were the Broadway lofts. I do not have those reservations on this project. I wish that the Broadway Lofts project was designed such as this. I like the architecture of this. I like the articulation. I like the unit size mix. I think their smallest unit is 600-some square feet, whereas the Broadway Lofts was around 350 or so. I like very much the parking issues. They're not coming in asking for any parking variations, as I'm aware of. This is the standard that we should have held Broadway Lofts to, in my opinion. So I'm not anti-development. I'm not anti-high-density development, but This shows you that the proper design, the proper elements of lighting, of spacing, of differentiation between styles can really work well. I'm very happy with this building, and I would approve. I would be voting to approve this. Congratulations to the designers.
Thank you. I'll go back to Mr. Weaver.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nigerian. Yes, and Mr. Nigerian and I also disagree on the Broadway lofts. Small 350 square foot units I didn't like. The design was modified so if those units do not move, the walls between two units can be removed, doubling the size of the units. And there is a very detailed park on top. I happen to like the architecture as well on that as I do on this. A comment I was going to make, though, a few years ago, I took a detailed map of the area between Wilson, Lexington, Central, and Brand, and I calculated the number of square feet in that area that was simply asphalt parking lot. It was between 60 and 70%. I said, that's got to change. This project goes a long way from removing unused asphalt land and turning it into something that will produce revenue to the city and bring residents downtown. So, again, I'm happy for that.
Thank you. Mr. Starbird.
Madam Chair, a quick question. Will the next phase be where we see material boards? Thank you.
For my part, I support the project. I'm fine with the design at this point. I'm looking forward to seeing material boards, to seeing further refinement of the design. I would make one request of the applicant at this point, which is to look into, and we can hook you up with them, some of the automated parking systems that are on the market. I don't know whether they will pencil out for your building, but I do know that they can substantially reduce the size of the parking lot that you need. You have a lot of parking right now. It's a lot of concrete, it's a lot of space, and it might be something that can, in the long run, save you money. So I would request that you look into that and sort of report back to staff on what you find out and whether you think that it can be of help to you. Otherwise, at this point, I'm fine with the project and would entertain a motion. Do we need a motion for this? Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Friedman.
Yes. What's next, please?
Next item on the business agenda is a public hearing. Director of Community Development regarding 72 space parking exception request from DreamWorks Animation Campus for excess stall standards at 1000 Flower Street. At B1 is a motion approving a parking exception based on findings and conditions.
Okay, Mr. Lansapane.
Mr. Chair, members of the Redevelopment Agency, the City of Glendale has a development agreement with DreamWorks that provides they could build up to 495,000 square feet on their campus, and they must park that with 990 parking spaces. DreamWorks actually has built less than the maximum, and they have built parking far in excess of what the agreements call for and our code calls for. DreamWorks is attempting to take some of those spaces and create tandem spaces, making them larger. They're doing this on the southern portion of the property. Unfortunately, because of the way that it all lays out, they're unable to get a full car length, standard car length, pursuant to our code in. They want to use tandem parking. The first one will be 18 feet. The second one will only be 15 and 3 feet short. It is excess parking that is not required by code. However, our code requires that they meet the standard even for excess spaces. DreamWorks is asking for a variance on these 72 spaces to have the back part of the tandem be 15 feet. That will also have a standard width of 8.5 feet. That exceeds the standard for industry standard for a compact space. So with that, staff is prepared findings for you, and we are recommending approval of this variance. Staff is here if you have any questions, representative of DreamWorks as well.
Madam Chair, would you open the public? Oh, yeah, we're going to open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the agency?
I do. I have a question. Did we finally resolve the issue with DreamWorks in terms of the Riverwalk project and the park and so forth?
Yes, we did, and I believe, I know my staff will tell me if I'm wrong, we also solved all the issues we had with the county to get access to Flower Street. So all of those have been completed.
What were the issues with DreamWorks? Because I know they held up that project for quite a while, but I was never clear exactly what the problem was with the company.
It really came down to the amount of easement that they had to dedicate for the Riverwalk and how it might affect the proprietary nature of what's going on in security. But we were able to resolve it with by dimensioning something that was suitable for the park and the Riverwalk as well as DreamWorks. There was also an issue about crossing an easement, an existing easement that was there to alter the route to Flower, which was the last piece that we solved with the county.
Darian?
So correct me if I'm wrong, they have more than code-required parking, and on some of these parking, they're going to turn it into tandem and just shave the size from our standard of 18 feet to 15 feet for one of the tandem spots.
That is correct.
I'm happy to support it.
Okay, any other discussion? Can we have a motion, please?
Wait, you want to close the hearing?
We'll close the public hearing.
Move 6B1.
Second.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Friedman.
Yes. What's next, please?
Next at 6C is Director of Community Development and Director of Administrative Services, Finance, regarding resolution of appropriating for agencies' repayment of amounts owing to city under existing cooperation agreements between agency and city.
Ms. Chair,
Add
members of the
C1 is a resolution of appropriation.
Ms. Chair, members of the Redevelopment Agency, last week you authorized staff for the Redevelopment Agency to repay city loan. This is asking for the appropriation to do that. If you approve today, we'll take that action as quickly as possible.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Agency members Draymond,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Friedman.
Yes. Mr.
I might
Strawberry.
note on that just recent emails indicate that the Senate may be voting on the matter of redevelopment as soon as tomorrow.
Yes. We'll all be keeping a close eye on what's happening in Sacramento. What's next, please?
Is there a motion to adjourn, unless there's new business?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
All right. I would like to call to order the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Redevelopment Agency for March 15th, 2011.